Simulated process color is more than likely the main reason why screen printers buy color separation software. Now, prior to running a simulated process separation in QuikSeps Professional, or for that matter, any type of color separation, you need to make sure your file is prepared correctly. In our example here, looking at the channels palette, we see that there is only the RGB channels, and this is how it should appear. When we go to the layers palette, we see that it contains one layer and one layer only, and this layer is named layer 0. You can also see that all areas of the canvas outside the graphic are transparent. It's not white, it's not black, or doesn't contain any other color or background area that's not supposed to be there. So this is how your file must appear prior to running any form of color separation. Now, I quickly opened up a different file just to show everyone how to get a multiple layer file down to that one layer named layer 0. Now, this contains 5 layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The wrong way to do it is to flatten your image. This type of file will not work correctly or at all with QuikSeps. What needs to be done is to go up to that arrow in the right-hand corner of your layers palette and choose Merge Visible. Then double-click whatever that layer happens to be named and change that to layer 0. Now, looking at the channels palette, as I said previously that it should only contain the RGB channels. Well, that was kind of a white lie. It could contain another channel as long as it's named something unique that QuikSeps will not target. Now, let's say you drew some sort of mask to help out following the color separation like we have here. It's okay to have that mask channel in your channels palette and run a color separation. Just make sure it's not named anything like Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, so on and so forth, since these names QuikSeps targets correctly and quite often during the color separation process. Now let's say you can't prepare that file within that non-flattened state from the very beginning, and you have a file that's already flattened on one layer named background, and let's say that background is black or white or whatever, and that needs to be deleted. Now, there's 2 ways to do that, and it all depends upon the type of file. The worst way to do it is to use the magic wand tool and start hitting your delete key, since that really doesn't get rid of everything, and it also leaves fringe pixel areas around your image that the software will pick up. So the first thing we need to do is go to your layers palette and double click the background layer. The layers dialog box will come up, and that should go to layer 0 as default, and click OK. Now we no longer have a flattened image, we have a single layer image. However, the problem remains that this black background is still encompassing, the artwork, and that needs to be gotten rid of. Now, the first way we can do that is by using what's called the Magic Eraser tool in Photoshop. Now, let's go to the Tools palette and choose Magic Eraser and set the tolerance to 32. Now, just click within your background and bingo, that black's gone. Now, as you can see, it's not gone in these areas since they're protected by other pieces of your art. But you can just click within these areas and get rid of that. But now let's undo what we just, the areas that we just deleted, and discuss another method, which is definitely the method that we're going to use when removing this black area from the badass American image here. So let's zoom in and we'll just see what our problem is. And the problem here is these little wispy areas. As you can see, these little areas of white glow. Now, what's going to happen when you use the Magic Eraser tool within this area, okay, you're going to leave this little bit of black in here. Okay? Now, there's no way to get around that, because these little areas kind of have this glow to it. This glow effect in Photoshop could be a nightmare. So the only way to get rid of that completely, let's get back to our original state here, is by using what's called the background eraser tool, which can really perform miracles. Now, after we selected the background eraser tool, we had to select a brush size. Now, mine already was selected here at 200. 200 could be, doesn't matter. 100, 150, 200. Make sure it's large enough to where you're overlapping a lot of areas, within your art when you scroll over it with the background eraser tool. And make sure the limits are set to contiguous, and tolerance, well, let's try 50%. And now what we'll do is we'll target an area here and click. And as you can see, this erased areas within that the background of this image. However, it left these little wispy areas intact. And I gotta say, to this day, I am amazed at how well this particular tool works. And what you just need to do is follow your image completely around until you get it all, and then you can just use your magic eraser tool or the default eraser within Photoshop, and then get rid of all of these areas out in here. Okay, once we have our file properly configured for use with QuikSeps, we need to run a simulated process color separation. We do so by clicking the QuikSeps Go action. Now, as you can see, we have a lot of activity within the channels palette as the separation is running. Now, this will take anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds, depending upon computer speed and obviously file resolution. Once all on-screen activity stops, you'll receive a message that the process is now complete. Okay, as you can see, the file contains quite a bit of color channels. We're obviously not going to require the use of them all, but we'll go through each one here. The action generates 4 different white underbases, and they're all quite different from one another. The first 3 are the ones that you would use on most jobs, especially those on a black shirt if you choose not to use a black ink. The 4th is a much more extensive underbase with a lot more ink. Now, this one you would definitely want to use on any darks which are non-black, like let's say reds, royal blues, forest greens, so on and so forth. Basically, on dark shirts where running black ink is an absolute must. We also generate a yellow, 2 different blue channels, a dark blue 285 and an aqua 311. We have a flesh channel, and we have an orange channel, which is kind of a special channel, which we'll get to in the next color separation. And we have 2 reds, a red 185 and a soft red 185. Most pieces of artwork will respond better to using the soft red 185, as it treats shadow detail and a lot of other factors much differently, and you'll get more satisfying results on press. We have a purple 246 channel, which basically captures a lot of purple and magentas within the piece of art. A green 354 channel. Now, there's not too much green in this artwork, so you're not going to see that much green here. A gray 427, a brown 421, a highlight white, and 3 blacks. Now, black is probably the most important color in your separation, and that's why we chose to generate 3 different blacks, and they are very different from one another. The light black actually does not pick up a lot of shadow detail, works best for, let's say, some files. Black option 2 is more than likely the black you're going to use most often, and black option 3, which picks up more shadow detail than the light black or black option 2. As a matter of fact, QuikSeps is so extensive as far as wanting to get the blacks right and the white bases absolutely right that we include an action within the actions palette we'll get to later that generates yet a 4th black and yet a 5th white underbase. Okay, once the separation is complete, we're going to have to decide what channels are going to be used to image screens with. Now there's a few ways of doing that. We can scroll through the channels, turning on and off different colors individually and picking and choosing. Or we can employ the actions to automatically merge the channels one at a time or simultaneously. For now, let's see if we can pick and choose a good separation. Turn on Sharp Background, one of the underbases, and we'll choose yellow, the two blues. Since this has a lot of brownish information in it, let's put on the flesh, orange, soft red. Let's go with the purple, gray, brown, highlight white. As you can see, we're choosing a lot of channels here. Now, more often than not, you're probably not going to be in the mood for running a 8, 9, or 10 color job all the time, if ever. So we're going to have to get this separation down to a more manageable level. Those of you with experience using QuikSeps or simulated process color in general may decide to reduce the amount of colors within the separation yourself and not use the actions, while others with less experience or who are just looking for something quick and easy may decide to let QuikSeps do it for them. Here we could do it either individually, one color at a time, or simultaneously. Let's start using the individual method by merging the orange 151, then the purple, gray, brown, and green. Before I merge the aqua 311, let's discuss one point, and that is if your image relies upon green heavily and you merge that aqua 311, you're going to lose a lot of that green information. And that's due to the fact that merging that aqua brings it all into the blue 285 and yellow 102. And this darker blue is not as friendly mixing with yellow to make greens as opposed to a lighter, more pastel green like 311. So keep that in mind. Also, if your image is very, very green intensive, let's say it's a leprechaun or something like that, you might want to keep the green 354 channel itself. And that's just not the case with green, but with any color that is dominant within the image. A color like that, you should try to use the ink itself to image it and not rely on mixing other colors on press. But for now, let's merge the aqua 311, and as you can see, it gives you a warning that you'll lose your green if the artwork is green intensive. We'll click continue, and now we'll just delete the flesh. We really don't try to merge that flesh. Let's turn on the Sharp Background, a white base, yellow, blue, red, and highlight white. And we have an image that will print very well on a 6-color press with one flash. Prior to discussing our auto-reduce color palette actions, I thought it best to take a look at the white underbase channels. What I did here was change the Sharp Background to this horrible shade of green to demonstrate a point. I kept the same white underbase channel selected as in our previous example, but I've obviously turned on a black channel. As you can see, there is a green cast coming through the design. The reason for that being, as discussed previously, the first 3 white channels more or less cater to a black shirt when possibly not using a black ink. And much of the black data from the black option 2 channel has been removed from these 3 white underbases. So the only cure for this dilemma is to simply use the white base non-black channel. And as you can see, the cast is now gone. Switch back to one of the first 3 white underbases, and back again to the non-black underbase. In fact, our auto-reduce color palette actions don't remove all of the white underbases and leave you with just a choice of one. And that's due to the fact that it's impossible for these actions to know what color you're printing the design on. So that's one thing that we have to leave up to you, is to select the correct white underbase for your artwork. For those of you in a hurry and would like to reduce the amount of colors in your image down quickly, we've included two actions. The first being Auto Reduce Color Palette, and the second being our famous Just Let It Rip action. Let's run Reduce Image to 5 colors. Upon completion, all of our white underbases are left intact, along with all of our black channels. Remaining are the yellow, blue 285, aqua, both reds, and the highlight white. From this point, after we examine our file, if we decide that the aqua 311 can be merged, we can click the button to reduce image to 4 colors. And this has merged our aqua channel. At this point, all we needed to do is decide which white underbase is correct for the job, and also which black and which red you would rather use. Our next option to auto-reduce the colors is to run Let It Rip Now, and let's do that. Once complete, the primary difference between Let It Rip and Auto Reduce is that it leaves us with only 2 selections for the white underbase, only 1 black channel, and 1 red. So this takes a lot of guesswork out of deciding which colors to run, and is especially useful with images that are less complex. Here again, if we feel the Aqua 311 can be merged, let's hit the Reduce Image to 4 Colors action. And now we have a file that can be printed in very few colors. Okay, now let's say after looking at our file, we'd like to add a custom color channel to it. That can really come in handy if your image contains non-standard colors like neons or anything that RGB calculations that QuikSeps uses can't pick up. So here we want to pick up a custom brown. So how are we going to do that? Well, simple. First thing we'll do is select our RGB channel. Now in our Actions palette, we're going to click our Custom Color Channel Go action. It's going to give you some instructions here. You're going to click Continue, and the color range window will open. Now you're going to take the eyedropper, and we're going to try to select the type of brown we want to pull as a custom color. So we want something that is going to get as much ink as possible into a channel, at least with this design. And right here looks about right. Adjust our fuzziness to pull more or less. Now this would be far too much, okay, because you're starting to spread into non-brown areas. So let's pull this back to about here. It's okay if we pull a little brown, within the scroll here, and little tips within the red. That's not going to bother it at all. Now make sure our invert checkbox is checked, and click OK. You're going to follow the instructions on screen. Click Continue. Now when the new channel window opens, we're going to click the color box. When the color picker window opens, we're going to choose the foreground color over here in Photoshop's Tools palette. Now this is the color that we selected when choosing color range. Click that foreground color, click OK, then click again. QuikSeps has now generated a perfect and smooth spot color channel. Now let's get that channel properly configured within our file and move it either before or after the red. Right now we're going to move it after the red. Turn on the shirt background, another base, the yellow, blue, soft red, our new channel, highlight, and black. And zoom in. Now as you can see, it appears a little dark, and that's for two reasons. First of all, the first reason being is that the brown we selected is probably too dark for the image. So what we're going to do is double click the new spot color channel, click the color chip, and we're going to move the circle around here and select a lighter brown. And as you can see, the image will be adjusted in real time. So you can actually see the changes that you're making. If you bring it up to orange, as you can see, it makes a complete disaster out of it. So let's bring it back down to like a lighter medium brown. And for now, we'll just leave it right around here. Click OK, then OK again. Now, if you still feel that it's slightly intense, and sometimes pulling colors in this manner will do that, let's go up to Image, Adjust, Curves, and give this the type of curve that you might not have used in the past. We're going to take the upper right-hand handle and we're going to bring it down this way. And as you can see, that did a really nice job of taking the intensity off of that custom color channel. Turn it off and on. And we've got a really, really nice brown custom color channel to use within this image. Click OK. Now when doing this, sometimes, but not all the time, you'll want to remove some of the new color, in this case, the new color being Spot Color 1, which we can just change to the appropriate color channel name. Sometimes you would want to take some of this color away from the red channel. And let's see how we do that. Let's choose the red channel. Go to our Actions palette. And we're going to choose Merge, Subtract, Channel, Go. Within this Apply Image dialog box, we're going to select the new color, which is Spot Color 1, the blending mode of screen, and click the Invert button. And as you can see, by turning the preview on and off, we're removing that brown data from the red channel. Click OK. Turn our colors back on, and we've got a good looking file. Now going back to our Merge, Subtract channel action one more time, let's use it to add some color data to a channel. Let's say we wanted more of the red information from the Spot Red 185 applied to the white base. So the red is going to print much brighter on that black shirt. What we'd do is select whatever white base channel we want to apply that data to. Let's choose the number 1 channel, white base, and click our Merge, Subtract, Channel, Go action. What we're going to select is the Soft Red 185. We're going to choose a blending mode of Multiply this time. And as you can see, by clicking the preview on and off, just the red channel data was added to the white base to add ink under that particular color. For those of you printing this design, or for that matter, any piece of art on a black shirt, and would like to avoid using black ink at all costs, well, you might find it helpful to remove just a little bit more of your black data from the white underbase. Now, we've included an action that guides you through that process called high contrast white base. But if you'd rather not go through the entire instruction set of the action, do simply this. Select your white base channel, go to your black, hold the Control key on your keyboard, and click the black channel once. This loads your black channel as a selection. Your white base continues to be chosen. Now hit the Delete key on the keyboard. And now we'll deselect. Going to the History palette and clicking back in time, as you can see, we've added a nice amount of contrast to the white base. And this will be much more friendly on press when not using a black ink. When zooming in on the image, we can see that there's a little bit of white that's peeking from behind the red. Now, on this piece of artwork, it's probably not a big deal, as the red will expand on press a little bit and run over the white. However, sometimes you need to choke that white base back just a little bit, and that's very simple to do. Take your magic wand at a low tolerance setting and click outside your white underbase. Going to the Actions palette, let's choose Choke White Base 2 pixels. And it's clearly apparent that that white that was peeking from behind the red is now gone. You can choke the white base 1, 2, or 3 pixels using the QuikSeps actions. There are times, however, that using the actions to choke the white base proves impractical, and that's a time when you should choose to manually choke the base, which is also another very simple method. Here again, we're going to select the Magic Wand tool at a very low tolerance setting and click outside the white underbase. Now we're going up to the Select menu and choose Modify, Expand. And for this example, we're going to select 1 pixel and click OK. Now we're going to choose our Eraser tool and erase along the line. You don't have to be careful here. And as you can see, the white underbase that was peeking from behind the red is now gone. Bringing the eraser tool into the design itself won't affect it, since only this outside area is live. About the only other adjustment I would make to this design would be to bring up the blue a little bit, since it appears somewhat washed out. So let's just select our blue 285. Let's go to Image, Adjustment, Curves, and just give it a little bump up. And as you can see, that helped the design out quite a bit. Click OK. Before looking at a totally different file using Simulated Process, I'd like to go over the alternate black and alternate white base highlight actions. As you can tell by now, we're fanatical when it comes to bases and blacks, well, since they're vital to your color separation, and the two most important ingredients. To generate alternate black, the 3 black channels generated by the QuikSeps Go action must be present. Then click the Generate Alternate Black action. It only takes a second to finish. What the alternate black action does is takes the best parts of the light black, black option 2, and black option 3 and makes a completely new channel using the best attributes of all of them. Here's what the alternate black looks like, the option 3, the option 2, and the light black. As you can see, the alternate black has a completely different look from the other three and can be useful on some files. Now, the alternate white base highlight action requires a fresh copy of your original art, the one where all data is on layer 0. Simply open up a copy and run the alternate white base highlight action. In about 10 seconds it's done, and what this has generated is, well, an alternate white base, which is slightly different from the 4 white bases QuikSeps automatically generates. And this white base is one that would also be used on non-black shirts. It's slightly different, but very close to the white base non-blacks. It's not quite as dark in areas and will print much softer, and it's a good option. You would add this channel to your completed color separation by simply holding your mouse on the channel, hitting your Shift key, and dragging that channel to your destination file, in this case being your color separation. The other channel this action generates is a dark highlight white. The dark highlight white simply extends the highlight white further into the shadow areas of your design. And this highlight can be very helpful with some images, especially when trying to mute hard to control colors. For example, if you're attempting to generate flesh without using actual flesh inks, which I don't recommend, but it can be done, this highlight white will help you out quite a bit. I've already run the QuikSeps Go simulated process action on this file and deleted any channels that we're not going to use. I chose this file and included it on your disk for a specific reason, and that's to illustrate problems that could occur with a certain type of file, and this happens to be one of them. Let's take a look at the RGB, and you can see this glow coming off the flames. And as I've said previously, glows could turn into nightmares, but there's an easy way to adjust them. The main problem with these glow effects is how they destroy certain aspects of the white underbase. And this is the exact reason why I chose to make this mask from the RGB file and include it within my channels palette prior to running the color separation, since we'll need this mask to adjust the white base. And I'll show you exactly why. Let's turn on the channels. And as you can see, it doesn't look too bad, but there is way too much white ink coming off of these flames. So much so that there's not enough red or yellow to overprint over top of that white. And you're going to get this white halo effect, which is not going to look that great on a black t-shirt. Zoom in and you'll see what I mean. So if by turning off the red and turning off the yellow, it's really not having that much of an effect covering up that white. We have to do something about that. And this is exactly why we have this mask. What we're going to do is hold down the Control key and click this mask channel. Once the selection is made, we're going to go up to Select and choose Inverse. All areas outside the image now are live, so the white base can be easily adjusted within this area and not affect the image itself. Let's choose white base, and we're going to try 2 different methods. The first, we'll use curves. Image, adjust, curves. We'll take the bottom handle, move it to the right. As you can see, that immediately eliminated all of that glow effect, but I think we took away too much. So let's bring it back a little bit, right to about here, and then we're going to take the right handle and take the edge off of this glow. by bringing this down. Maybe even bring it down a little bit more, and click OK. Deselect, zoom out, and as you can see, there's a big difference. You still do have some white in here, but it's not that much. And there's enough yellow and enough red to overprint on top and beyond this white. So you have that orangey blend fading into your black shirt and no white visible. The other way to adjust it is by using levels. So let's go to Image, Adjust Levels. And let's move the center slider to the left a little bit. And that's going to take the intensity off of the glow. And then we're going to take the right slider and move that in. Click OK. Deselect and zoom in. As you can see, a major improvement. The other thing I'd like to point out with this design is the correct way to use the orange 151 channel, especially within these kind of flames and blends and things like that. If I turn the orange 151 channel on now, it just adds way too much ink to the image, and this would print horribly. What we're looking here is to get a nice blend between orange, yellow, and red, because sometimes the only way to get a good effect, that good blend between that transition, that yellow to red transition, is to add orange in between. This is especially helpful with flames and things like that. So how are we going to do it? Well, let's turn off our orange channel and select the soft red 185. Let's go up to Image, Apply Image, and now we've chosen our orange 151 within the channels selection area here. We use the blending mode of screen and made sure invert is checked. And now if we unclick preview, you can see what it's done. It's mildly taken away that orange data from the soft red 185. If you need to take away more, you can do this again. But for now, let's just do it once and click OK. Now the image has a somewhat washed out effect to it, but that's remedied immediately by turning on the orange 151. And now we have a much better looking separation, and it's going to print a lot better, as opposed to just trying to blend hard red into yellow. And that's going to about do it for simulated process color separations.